My name is Ashley Vaden. I'm 29 years old, and if I'm honest, I should have seen Caleb coming from a mile away. But the truth is, he didn't walk into my life. He drifted in. Soft, warm, like air through a window you didn't realize was open until it was too late. Caleb had this charm that wasn't loud. It was quieter, sly, like he wanted to be discovered rather than announced. The first night he walked me back to my car, he tilted his head, smiled that half smile, and said, "You're different, Ashley. You actually listen." I'd heard that line before, but something in the way he said it, the way his voice sank low, like it carried a secret only I could unlock, made me believe him. And belief quickly became a habit. I believed him when he said his ex was just spiritual baggage and that late night coffee with her was only closure. I believed him when he Venmo requested me $50 for emergency gas and called it a joke, a test to see if I'd notice. I paid anyway. I believed him when he promised that labels ruin the magic, tracing the rim of his glass while dismissing the word girlfriend as something too heavy, too suffocating. Even when I'd already introduced him as my boyfriend at my sister's barbecue, I swallowed my own truth and let his version stand. I figured he'd catch up. Red flags weren't banners in the wind with Caleb. They were whispers. A late-night absence explained away with, "Sorry, my phone died." Poolside photos of him shirtless, captioned with vague song lyrics, while strangers left flame emojis in the comments. When my best friend hinted he was too flirty with everyone, I laughed it off. I called it friendly, because that was Caleb's talent, making every concession feel like confidence, and every worry sound like paranoia. Soon, his sneakers by my door looked like permanence. His hoodie on my couch smelled like belonging. One weekend, he left his razor in my bathroom drawer. The next, his textbook spilled across my kitchen table. He never paid rent. He offered to cook instead, but it usually ended with takeout I ordered. I covered it without thinking, because it felt good to be needed. And maybe that's where he got me. Caleb didn't make me feel chosen. He made me feel necessary. Late one Friday night, as we split fries on the couch, he leaned back and asked, "Would it bother you if I grabbed drinks with an ex? Just for closure. Some women get weird about that." I laughed, too loudly. I said I wasn't one of those insecure girls who got jealous. He smiled, satisfied, and changed the subject to vacation plans. But as I nodded along, I felt it. A tug, a flicker of warning deep in my chest, one I forced myself to ignore. Because when you want someone to stay, silence feels safer than suspicion. And I had no idea that silence would become my only defense. 2 Fridays later, I was closing out a late shift when one of my coworkers, Layla, slid her phone across my desk. "Ashley, isn't this Caleb?" On the screen, an Instagram story looped in silence. The familiar green circle of close friends only. Caleb stood in front of a hotel bathroom mirror, white robe hanging half open, but the phone wasn't in his hand. A tattooed forearm, not mine, reached into frame, steadying the camera. The caption read, "Healing energy, grateful heart." My chest didn't explode with rage, it just hollowed out, like the floor had dropped and left me dangling in midair. I stared, numb, until the story replayed. The first thought that crossed my mind wasn't he betrayed me. It was, that robe doesn't belong to him. Mine's navy blue, cotton. This one's hotel white, starched. I drove home in silence. The ticking dashboard clock was louder than the engine. When I unlocked my apartment, his sneakers were still by the door, but the space felt vacant. At midnight, my phone buzzed. "Caleb. Hey babe, long day. Crashing at Sean's. Can we talk tomorrow?" I typed back, "Sure," then placed my phone face down and stretched out on the couch. The bed upstairs was free, but I couldn't bring myself to climb into it. The next morning, I walked to his apartment. In my hand, a plain envelope with his spare key tucked inside. My palms sweated against the paper. He opened the door in one of my vintage band tees, eyes half-lidded, voice casual. "Morning. Everything okay?" I didn't step inside. I lifted my chin, steady. "I saw your story." He blinked, then shrugged. "So what if you did? You were with her last night, weren't you?" He leaned against the doorframe like the weight of the world had never touched him. "So what if I was? We were never official, Ashley. You can't cheat on someone you're not exclusive with." My throat tightened, but my voice stayed even. "You call me your girlfriend at brunch with your mom." "That was to make her happy," he shot back. "You're the one who got too attached. That's on you." The hem of my shirt brushed his bare thighs. I forced myself not to look, not to flinch. I remembered the night he wore that same shirt to bed, whispering how safe he felt. Safe, I said quietly, but never serious. He rolled his eyes. You're overreacting. It was just one night. One night doesn't erase everything we had. No, I said, pressing the envelope into his hand, but it tells me what we never had. Inside, along with his key, was a note. 4 words, neat and final. Please do not return. His mouth parted. You're really doing this? One misunderstanding and you just ghost? I'm not ghosting, Caleb. I'm leaving. I stepped back into the hallway. His voice followed, sharp now, desperate to pull me back. You'll regret this when you calm down. But outside, the air smelled like rain, and for the first time in months, I breathed. I muted his number before I reached the street. No screaming, no slammed doors, just silence. Because silence can be the loudest goodbye of all. The weekend after I left Caleb's apartment, my home felt like a crime scene. Not because of blood or broken glass, but because his fingerprints lingered everywhere. A razor still in my bathroom drawer, 3 cans of his favorite seltzer in the fridge. His messy grocery list stuck to my freezer door with my own magnet. Almond milk, tortilla chips, beard oil. I gathered it all up, not in a rage, not with tears, but methodically. Like someone unspooling a knot, cutting every thread, each item into a trash bag, one by one. The sound of plastic swallowing the past. I didn't blast it online. I didn't type paragraphs about betrayal or loss. I simply cleaned. And with every item gone, I noticed something. The silence inside me was louder than his excuses had ever been. Caleb, of course, didn't choose silence. By Monday, his Instagram was flooded with vague captions and filtered selfies. When the dust settles, the real ones remain. Healing isn't linear. One photo was just his legs and some quartz crystals. People started asking me questions, my cousin texting, "Did you and Caleb break up? He's posting a lot." Even his friend Marcus DM'd me. "He's been weird. Just wanted to check you're okay." I answered no one. Not because I didn't care, but because I was done explaining someone else's behavior. By Wednesday, Caleb switched tactics. A new number lit up my phone at 9:00 p.m. "Hey, just wanted to talk. Can we meet? I owe you an apology." I blocked it. Thursday at midnight, another number. "I didn't realize how much you mattered until you left. I was scared, Ashley. I self-sabotage. I'm working on it." Blocked. Friday evening, again. "You're really not going to say anything? After everything we were?" I stared at the words, waiting for a flicker of the old me, the girl who would have written back, long and forgiving, explaining, rationalizing, begging him to see me. But that girl wasn't home anymore. I closed the thread, blocked. Silence wasn't cruelty. Silence was survival. I filled my evenings with small rituals instead. Late walks under street lamps, phone off in my pocket, long baths with music humming low, journaling until my hand cramped. Not distractions, exorcisms. By Sunday, I realized I hadn't thought of him for hours at a time, not even when his face popped up on someone else's story. That weekend, I sat at the park watching kids play basketball. One boy wore the same faded jersey I had when I was 15. Back then, I thought love meant proving yourself, begging someone to see you, even if they never chose you. But I wasn't that girl anymore. And Caleb's voice, once so loud in my head, had gone quiet. Caleb didn't fall apart quietly. He unraveled the way he lived, in public, in pieces, dragging anyone who would watch into the wreckage. It started with screenshots. A mutual friend forwarded me a story from Derek, one of Caleb's exes. It was a DM timestamped 2 days after I'd walked away. "I miss how calm you were. Everyone else is cold. Can we talk? I've grown since last time. You once said I was the one that got away." Derek's caption, "Y'all warned me. Never again." Screenshots spread like wildfire, into my inbox, into group chats I'd been muted from months ago. "Bro, isn't this your ex? Wow, he's on tour." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Soon, even his defenders were going quiet. Alexa, the girl who'd once sworn Caleb was just misunderstood, posted a vague vent on her story. It's exhausting being friends with someone who lies to everyone, plays victim, and uses people for attention. People reacted with clapping emojis. Replies rolled in. We all know who this is. Caleb tried to fight back. Throwback pics, captions about loyalty, hashtags about growth. But no one commented. No one reposted. His echo chamber was gone. That's when the birthday rooftop party happened. I hadn't planned on seeing him. It was a casual gathering. Neon lights strung across mismatched furniture, cheap beer sweating in coolers. I arrived late, wearing my leather jacket, the one Caleb used to joke made me look like a divorced rock star. Now it just felt like armor. I was mid-laugh with an old friend when I saw him. Caleb, alone by the railing, smile brittle, posture too stiff. He looked thinner. His hair curled a little too deliberately, his eyes darting every few seconds to see who was watching. I turned back to my drink, refusing to give him that power. Half an hour later, he walked over. Conversations around us faltered. Suddenly, everyone was checking their phones. "Hey," he said softly. I met his eyes, steady. "Caleb." "You look good," he offered, tentative. "Thanks." He shifted, clearly uncomfortable with the silence stretching between us. "Can we talk, just for a second?" I motioned toward the far side of the patio. We walked slowly, like actors in a play everyone was watching. Once we reached the railing, he sighed, like he'd been holding his breath for months. I feel like things ended without a real conversation, and I think about it every day. I said nothing. I didn't handle things well, but it wasn't cheating, Ashley. You never said the word exclusive. I finally turned to him, my voice calm. "You're still saying that." He blinked. "Well, it's true, isn't it? We were figuring things out. You never actually said. You wore my hoodie to sleep 5 nights a week. You left your razor in my bathroom. You called me your safe place." I paused, let the words land. "That's exclusivity in every language but yours." His mouth opened, then closed. For once, he had no script. "I didn't think you'd just walk away," he whispered. "I know." My tone was quiet, steady. "You thought I'd wait, that I'd compete with your other options, that I'd keep proving I was worthy of being chosen." The music thumped faintly behind us, laughter echoing from the other side of the roof, but here it was silent. "I'm not here to fight for loyalty, Caleb. If it doesn't come freely, it isn't worth having." His voice cracked. "I was stupid, Ashley. I was scared. You were the only one who ever really saw me." "No," I shook my head. "I just looked past what you showed everyone else." His laugh was sharp, brittle. "So what, you just moved on? Like I was nothing?" I stepped back, my jacket brushing against the railing. "I didn't move on like you were nothing. I moved on because you treated me like I was." And with that, I turned and walked away. He didn't follow. 10 minutes later, he slipped out. No one noticed. After the rooftop, Caleb didn't disappear. He just shifted tactics. His Instagram filled with subtext aimed straight at me. "Silence isn't peace. Sometimes it's cowardice." Funny how people pretend to be emotionally mature until they're held accountable. Some women only know how to love when it's convenient. Friends sent me screenshots asking if I wanted them to report the posts. I told them no. Let him scream into the void. But even the void grew tired. The friends who used to hype him up went silent. Alexa, the same girl who once swore he was misunderstood, called me one Tuesday night. She didn't waste time. "I'm sorry," she blurted. "For what?" "For defending him. For telling people you just ghosted." I didn't know everything, Ashley, and when I finally saw the screenshots, I felt like an idiot. "You don't owe me anything," I said. "Still," she whispered. I needed to say it. "He's been spinning this story like you overreacted, like you blindsided him. But we all know better now." Her words felt like a door quietly closing. Not on me, on him. Days later, I ran into Danielle, another mutual friend, at a bar. She eyed me like I was some urban legend. "I gotta say," she laughed, "you're handling this better than anyone expected. Most women would have blown up his whole life." "I didn't need to," I answered simply. "He's doing that on his own." And he was. Caleb tried rebranding. He deleted old posts, filled his feed with spiritual quotes, sun-drenched selfies, captions about growth. But the engagement was dead. No likes, no comments, no echo chamber left. When you burn everyone's empathy, all you have left is yourself. And Caleb wasn't used to being alone. That's when the final message came. A new number late at night. "I know you probably won't read this, but I never meant for things to end the way they did. I cared about you. I was just in a bad place. You were stable and kind, and I took you for granted. I wish I could undo it. If you ever want to talk, even just as friends, I'd like to hear from you." I read it once. No anger, no temptation. Just a hollow kind of clarity. And then I blocked it. Because here's the truth. Betrayal isn't an accident. It isn't something you didn't mean. It's 1,000 selfish choices, all pointing away from the person who trusted you. Caleb hadn't tripped and fallen into betrayal. He had walked there. He had run. And I wasn't going to chase him. In the weeks that followed, I noticed something new. My apartment wasn't haunted anymore. No stray belongings, no silent echoes of him. I didn't feel lonely. I felt weightless. Some losses don't leave holes. They leave room. 3 months later, I got an invitation to Hila's wedding. She was a friend I'd grown closer to after she cut Caleb out of her own circle. For a moment, I wondered if he'd show up too, but then I realized it didn't matter. By then, my life had shifted. I'd moved into a new apartment, quiet, uncluttered, mine. I'd started a small creative agency, nothing flashy but already finding traction. And I'd let new people in, people who didn't need me to prove my worth. One of them was John. He wasn't loud or magnetic like Caleb had been. John was steady, thoughtful. The kind of man who'd rather spend an evening reading in a bookstore than broadcasting his life online. With him, the ground didn't shake beneath me. And for the first time, I realized that was what I wanted. Stillness, not storms. The wedding itself was beautiful. Intimate string lights, elegant but warm, laughter curling in the air like music. Halfway through the reception, while waiting at the bar, I saw him. Caleb. He looked smaller somehow. His hair was styled too perfectly, his smile too eager, as if he'd rehearsed it in the mirror. The edges of his performance were fraying. Our eyes met. For a heartbeat, the room shrank to just the two of us. Then his smile widened, too quick, too desperate. He crossed the room. Ashley, wow, I did not know you'd be here. He brushed his hair back, the same nervous tick as always. You look different. I am, I said simply. He laughed too fast. Changed your hair, sharper style now, suits you. I stayed quiet. He lowered his voice. Things got complicated back then. I wasn't in a good place, but I've been working on myself. Therapy, journaling, realigning. His eyes flickered, searching mine for softness. I gave him none. Finally, he whispered, I miss you. What I had with you, it was real. I was stupid. I thought I wanted excitement, but excitement doesn't keep you grounded when you're falling apart. For the first time that night, I let myself smile. Not kindly, not cruelly, just honest. You once called me safe, like it was a flaw. But safety is the foundation of love, Caleb. You removed yourself. I just refused to wait in the ruins. His face collapsed in on itself. So that's it? You replaced me? I glanced across the room, where John was laughing with Isla near the dessert table. At peace in a way Caleb had never been. No, I said softly. You replaced yourself. All I did was notice. Caleb's breath caught. Please, coffee, one night, closure? I shook my head gently. That chapter is closed. You just didn't notice until the book was already shelved. His mouth opened, then closed. No words came. I stepped past him, the glow of string lights catching the edge of my jacket, and walked toward John. He looked up, saw me coming, and smiled. Simple, steady, genuine. And just like that, the weight that had clung to me for months dissolved. Because Caleb wasn't the one who got away. He was the one I escaped from. And nothing had ever felt safer than that. Later that night, I sat under the canopy of string lights, a glass of champagne in my hand, the hum of laughter all around me. John's hand rested gently over mine, warm, unshakable. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to explain myself to anyone. Not to justify what I endured, not to rewrite the story Caleb spun. The silence I had chosen months ago had told the truth for me. Across the room, I caught a glimpse of him once more. Caleb stood near the bar, alone, his drink untouched, his smile strained. The performance was gone. His aura, once so magnetic, so consuming, had cracked under its own weight. People passed him by without pausing. He looked like a ghost in a room full of life. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger, just distance and peace. Because I understood now, Caleb hadn't loved me. He loved being loved by me. He loved the way my devotion fed him, the way my silence excused him. That wasn't love. That was consumption. Real love, I was learning, wasn't about proving yourself worthy of being chosen. It was about standing beside someone who already chose you, without games, without conditions. John turned to me, smiling, asking if I wanted to dance. His hand extended, simple, sure. I let him pull me into the soft glow of the lights. My laughter joined the music, blending into a night that felt weightless. I thought back to the girl I'd been when Caleb drifted into my life, hungry to be needed, willing to shrink my own voice just to keep someone close. She was gone now, In her place was a woman who had learned that silence isn't weakness, and leaving isn't cowardice. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you'll ever do. Some losses don't leave holes, they leave room. And under those lights, with John's hand steady in mine, I finally felt what I'd been searching for all along. Not excitement, not chaos, not rescue. Just freedom, and it was enough.